Welcome to the Partnership Path Podcast, a space where your partner management challenges are transformed into insights, where your expertise isn't just recognized, but celebrated. You're not alone on this partnership journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to guide you, to equip you. Dive deep with us into the world of partner management as we bring you real-world insights, expert advice, and strategies that truly make a difference. Ready to elevate your career? Let's take another step on this journey together.
Hi, John.
Hey, Toni. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm very good because it's time for another step on the partnership path. I'm excited for this.
Me too. Me too. I'm excited to go, and I've been thinking about this next episode, and I wanted to ask you, since you used to be a partner account manager, since you did that for all those years, I'm curious to know whether you thought of that job as a sales job when you were in it.
Um, Not necessarily because, and I'll tell you why, because we had enterprise sellers
Yeah,
in the enterprise organization, and we had people who were solution sales specialists who were specifically attached to end user customers and to deals. So whilst I carried a
yeah,
quota, I didn't feel like I was doing a kind of
yeah,
sharp end sales job.
yeah. Yeah, and I actually think that's pretty normal. It's why I thought it'd be worth spending a little bit of time on this episode to talk about that, because
Mm.
I actually think it's really important for people in those roles, when you're a partner manager, channel manager, whatever it is, that you think about your job as a sales job, but
Mm.
not necessarily what you just described, right? It's not that enterprise, run opportunities sales job. It's a different kind of sales job, but it is a sales job. Um,
Mm.
the thing that I think is important to start with is that we only do channel stuff to gain scale, right? The whole point of
Yeah.
the channel is to get more than we would if we had that role as an account executive or a traditional sales rep. So
Yeah.
I think one of the things that you have to be thinking about as a partner manager or channel manager is, if I'm not producing more through my channel efforts than a single AE could produce on their own,
Yeah.
then why is the company using me? Like what's the point, right? Like they might as well put an AE in the job. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great point. And you reminded me of, I may get this wrong. I'm sure it was Balmer who had said, like, there was one year it was scale, baby, scale. So it was as cloud products were coming to the fore. But it stuck
Yeah.
and we remembered it. And I think you're right. It is, how do you activate that sales channel that's available?
Right. Yeah. And I think, look, my kind of quick sort of set of tips around that, to kind of
Mm.
remind yourself of what that job looks like, is there's four things I think you need to keep track of. One
Okay.
is, you gotta you gotta define and quantify the value of the partnership. Figure out where you and the partner, or you and multiple partners, depending on the nature of that partnership, where you can focus to get value together, right? So the first thing that you're
Yeah.
doing is trying to figure out what the value is, right?
Mm.
Which is really similar to what sales reps have to do, right? Is
Yeah.
they've got to look at a customer and figure out where is their value, right? So that part's
Yeah.
kind of similar. But then, where you become a sales rep right away, then for sure, is your first job is to sell that value to the
Mm.
partnership stakeholders, to convince the stakeholders that this is worth engaging. And so the
Yeah.
first place I think you become a sales rep is in finding that value, number one, and then number two, communicating that value to the partnership stakeholders over and over. Not about your
Yeah.
product, not about the solution that you sell, but about the partnership, that together we add
Yeah.
value in ways that we couldn't on our own.
Yeah.
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 I I think you were actually pretty good at doing that.
I'm just kind of every time we talk, I end up going like on a little trip down memory lane. But it's interesting because if I think about different partner types, there would be
Hmm.
some who would say, we've got a pay to play model. So you're not
Yeah,
stepping on my sales floor unless you can bring me some sort of marketing development funding or something
sure.
you've got to pay to get in. So there's a whole sales element in convincing those kind of operations that actually you have earned the right to interact with their sales teams. And just thinking about that made me realize like how right you are, because these sales
Yeah,
managers are going, I'm the one that manage these people. If you want to get access to them, then it's
right.
got to be the right message that fits with our overall strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're touching on a super important topic that I think we could have a whole nother episode on, which is this
Mm,
concept of, how do you convince a partner of your strategic value as opposed to just your
yeah,
transactional value, right?
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's super important. So I think number one is figure out what the value is and quantify it. Number two is to sell that
yeah.
value. And then you led me into my third point, which is the third
Mm,
thing you do is you have to leverage that partner's sales force
yeah,
as a revenue multiplier, right?
yeah.
Your job is to get in there and act more like a sales manager than
Mm,
a sales rep, right? And
yeah.
I don't see this so much, or I didn't see this so much when I was working with your group, but there
Mm,
are plenty of organizations that we work with where we see the channel manager or the partner manager going in and essentially being the sales rep for the
mm.
partner, where they kind of run the deal and they
Yeah,
kind of do all the stuff, as opposed to being a
yeah,
sales manager where really what you're trying to do is get multiple people selling,
yeah,
remembering that this is all about revenue multiplying, right? If you're not producing more than one AE, then what's
yeah,
your value?
yeah. And I think again you touched on something that I recognize in that I remember a peer of mine who she was an incredible salesperson and would work on the deals with the partner, but
Yeah,
then that doesn't scale, does it? Because yeah, as you say, you might
that's
as well
right.
put an account
That's right.
exec on. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
and
felt kind of
eliminate the partner,
yeah, yeah. And
right?
actually, a lot of partners quite rightly feel nervous of vendors selling directly to their customers.
Yeah. Yeah. So they need you to act like a
Mm,
sales manager, even though sometimes they don't,
yeah,
like you said at the beginning, they don't kind of want you in unless you've earned your right or bought your right into that sales
yeah,
organization. And
yeah,
then that leads you to sort of that final kind of way to be a sales person in a
mm,
partner job, which is every time you interact with the partner, every
mm,
single interaction has to be either about selling the value of the partnership, reminding them of why this partnership is valuable to them,
mm,
or that interaction has to be about growing capacity and capability in the partner organization, getting them to be better sellers of your stuff,
yeah,
getting them to have more sellers of your stuff. So
yeah,
it's not that you would never do shoulder to shoulder selling with
mm,
with a partner, but if you are
yeah,
doing that, you better be taking advantage of that to make that other seller more independent, more autonomous than they would
yeah.
be without you, because you can't be on every sale. If you're going to scale, your goal is to get those other sales reps selling your stuff for you.
Yeah, and I think that as a kind of channel manager, partner business manager, you do have access to lots of things in your toolkit to help with things like readiness, and I do remember that's
Yeah.
valuable.
Yeah.
That's really a valuable thing to be able to put on the table because then the partner organization, that value stays within their business, ready for them to use on the next sale, the next sale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and all that stuff, we're ideally we're listing all that stuff in that big partnership business plan we put together, right? We talked a little bit about that in another episode, but that's why we have that stuff documented so that we can remind the partner again about why it's valuable to be in business with us. Why we're doing this. There's a reason, and it's valuable to both of us to be doing this. So it's super important that not only do you do all four of those things, but that we document it as well so that the partner can see the value and we can continue to push it.
So let's have a recap of those four things, John. I have made a note.
It's number one, define and quantify the value, right? Figure out where you've got value in the partnership. Two, turn around and sell that value back to the partnership stakeholders to make sure that they never forget why the partnership is worth their investment of time and money. Then it's to leverage the partner sales organization and act like a sales manager to try and create that revenue multiplier. And then the fourth thing is to make sure that every interaction is either about selling the value or it's about building capacity and capability in their sales organization to increase that revenue multiplier. If you do those four things, it becomes pretty obvious that your job is actually a sales job, just maybe not the sales job you thought it was.
Yeah, love it. So what's the call to action then for this episode, John?
So now's the time we turn it over to the users, right? So to the listeners. That was a weird word, users, listeners. I would love to hear and see in the comments and get a dialogue going about kind of their own listeners. What are your best practices or the reminders that you use to remember to sell value into the partnership stakeholders, to tell them how your partnership is valuable? And then secondly, I'd just love to hear a little bit about how you leverage your time with the partner to make sure that you're either building capability or building capacity to make that revenue multiplier bigger and bigger so that you are truly a revenue multiplier for your own organization. So would love to see those kind of comments and get a discussion going in the community.
Fantastic.
Thank you for joining us on the Partnership Path today. Remember, in the vast world of partner management, you have the potential to shine, to become the authority in your field. Don't let the journey end here. Subscribe, reflect, and lead. Together, let's redefine the essence of partnership in today's dynamic partner ecosystem. Until next time,